Welcome to the Applied Blockchain Podcast, where blockchain technology and innovation are in the spotlight. My name is Ben-Ari, and I'm the founder and CEO of Applied Blockchain, and I'll be your host as we dive into relaxed conversations with industry experts and thought leaders to get their views on what they're building, the Web3 ecosystem and its transformative impact on the modern world. Julien Bouteloup, welcome to the Applied Blockchain Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
Julien, first of all, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Which one? Bouteloup, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was close. Nice. Okay, Julien, we met a long time ago, right? We met at a hackathon many years ago now. You won that hackathon by a mile. I think you were a superstar at the time. It was just like you could just see the talent there. And then I've kind of caught up with you at a couple of conferences where I've just seen you doing completely crazy things and amazing things, and you've come such a long way since then. So I really wanted to catch up with you and really to understand your journey, because I think it's you've been very influential in the crypto space. You've done amazing things. So I want to really encapsulate this in a conversation and get this across to people as well. So first of all, welcome. And second of all, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, thanks. Well, I think we first met about 10 years ago, actually, 2016 maybe. Yeah, so I was living in London. I mean, I have a background in mathematics and physics. I graduated in the US, electrical engineering, specialization in machine learning and distributed system. So of course today, two of the major topics in society. But when I was living in London, I used to go to a couple of different hackathons, and I remember the one where I first got involved in blockchain was with TechCrunch, the one that I won. And then I won a couple of other ones in blockchain and tech. So that's how I got involved pretty close to to crypto, to blockchain. And then since then I've been building different projects, different companies, and in different areas.
So what did you first see in the space, and what have you built? What have you done? Maybe take us through it. It's probably been quite a lot over that period, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, for
your
sure.
thought process and the journey.
Yeah. Well, the first project, I mean, back then, I got involved in Bitcoin pretty early because I was in Mt. Gox. Way before that, actually, I ran some simple mining, like not even mining, but I was trying to compete with friends on trying to find like the Bitcoin mining. And then I got involved in Mt. Gox, but I was not really into I didn't really understand the Bitcoin or the blockchain. It was pretty anarchist back then. So in 2015, 2016, the space was really about building tech for good, right? There was nothing about finance. So all the different projects were for nonprofits. And this is where I built a project called, at the beginning was ID Box, Decentralized Identification System. This is where I won the TechCrunch competitions and also the Blockchain Week in London. And also was part of the first auditing firm. I think it was one of the first auditing firms worldwide. Back then, that was in London. And building this, I got involved in different crazy stuff. Like, for example, I flew to multiple different times to Papua New Guinea.
So this was so it was Blockchain Week.
I won the thing.
I think it was the central bank. The government was involved in that. They were one of the
central bank, United Nations, multiple different big institutions, UNICEF. And the thing was to build a simple device that you could place in a village, in a remote area, in developing countries, emerging markets, and people could create a unique identification, like an ID. Then it resonates today, 10 years later, with WorldCoin and other different things. But this was really centralized to the village. So you could not get outside of the village, which is still really good, I believe. So you could onboard 100 or 150 people that had never seen any electronics or never seen have any cell phone. And the problem is they cannot basically benefit from healthcare, from mobile providers or whatever, because they don't actually have a record of themselves somewhere. So this will actually create a record for them, and then you could apply to any type of third-party services like healthcare, mobile provider, internet, or whatsoever. And so it was pretty successful. And after that, by being in Papua New Guinea, I had my drone. So I built, because my background is machine learning, people call it AI today. So what I did, I built a machine learning convolutional network that could analyze in real time the quality of coconuts in the plantation in Papua New Guinea. And that's how then I got
Definitely a local
involved.
problem. Right? That's definitely a local problem.
Yeah, well, because the thing is like those people they produce those type of commodities like sugar, coconuts, or whatsoever, but then you have hedge fund that are betting on the market, but they never actually get money outside of just the product. For example, selling the data.
Mm-hmm.
So by having a drone back then that could automatically run through the plantation, analyze or quantify the number of quality coconuts, you could actually sell this to hedge fund.
Hedge funds,
And
yeah.
then, yeah, so what happened is then I got a partnership with Sucafina in Brazil for production of, analyze the production of coffee from space. So then I start buying data from satellites. And I raised money for this project also, flying carpet. And it was very nice. So you could actually have a flying carpet, like a carpet that could charge drones. And you could have a drone that autonomously fly around and analyze, for example, empty spot and parking lot in the US on top of building. So then you can actually decide if the parking lot is being used or not, and you can transform it into panels, solar panels. You could do carbon offset. This is what we got involved with, for example, carbon offset in Europe. And one of the products that we were using for doing prediction was actually Gnosis. And then that's how I got involved way closer to DeFi by building some of the first smart contracts on Ethereum. I think IDBox was probably one of the first projects. I think there was like Slockit back then, and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And then after that, there was IDBox, and then Flying Carpet deployed on mainnet, testnet. So yeah, that's how I got involved in really close to blockchain.
yeah.
And then by building prediction market with Gnosis, I start working and very early inside DeFi. And when I saw DeFi pumping up, it was way too big to ignore. So then I jump into this train and then been spending since then almost pretty much like I don't know like 8-7 years in DeFi. I mean I don't even know what was DeFi, but right after the ICO bull run and everything, then I got involved in DeFi. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing, very super interesting. So, what describe DeFi like? How you looked at it at the time, probably before it was called DeFi, and then
Well,
maybe.
yeah. It's I mean, I've background in physics, mathematics, and finance, and machine learning, and distributed systems. So DeFi for me was the click, everything you could, and also the ability to build something uh, in a couple of hours and deploy it and being used by thousands of people. My background is electrical engineering, so normally spend a lot of time building hardware, but then you have to manufacture the hardware. The cycle can take years before you start seeing the usage of your product. While here in DeFi, you can spend a couple of hours a day, ship
Yeah,
it, and people will start using it. So I look at traditional finance, and then I was trying to understand what would be the first different ideas of product that will be emerging from decentralized finance. So then I got to reach out like a couple of different people in a space, and that's how I actually flew to Tel Aviv to meet the guys that were building Banco back then. Yeah, so they were building one of the first AMM, and then I was trying to understand if I could build something myself. So then I started digging way closer to the subject of either lending market. That's how I got involved in Eastland, for example, as investment. Eastland was before Aave. So I started looking at multiple different projects in DeFi space, from lending market, from AMM, I mean auto market maker, to exchanges. For example, that was Ether Delta. So I started playing with those different things. I really started building bots and scripts in order to really understand how to use smart contracts, how to deploy smart contracts, how to write smart contracts, and actually trying to create value and make profits. I was also involved in validators. So I was one of the first validators that won, for example, Solana competitions. I also won top 3 in Cosmos. And basically, by running those validators, I got to know everyone that was building in crypto. And then I had to run one of the validator called NuCypher. So in NuCypher, there was someone, the CTO of NuCypher was Michael Ergov. And then by building those validators, I I told Michael that I was trying to build also an AMM, and he was actually working on Curve. And then I said, "Oh wow, this is actually fascinating." And he was way at he was about to release the project. He worked like for many months on the project. Yeah, pre launch. Yeah. So how can I get involved? And that's how I got to as a angel investor in Curve and advisor, and then I become core contributor to Curve by doing all those different business partnerships. I opened Polygon, I opened Avalanche, and millions of US dollars of liquidity provisions. That's how I got really locked into the DeFi space.
Yeah, wow, amazing. So if I like unpack that and go all the way back, so like around like you mentioned one of the first projects, Lockit. So for those who are not
Yeah.
familiar, that was I guess it was a fund in a way. It was one of the first
Well, I
DAOs.
was like back in DAO, the yeah, that was. I'm not sure if I was a founder. I think they were building this IoT device, right? The thing that you could also open your door
The
with the
doors.
lock. That was those really simple ideas, but yeah, it was just. I mean, back then we were in a non-profit world. It was kind of like people were building things that could help people. I mean, really like not financially, but like
Yeah,
really solve big problems. And Slockit was one of the first guys to actually build hardware and software.
yeah. Okay, and then the AMMs was kind of a, I guess, a natural. I mean, it feels like a natural progression now. Obviously, at the time, it wasn't obvious.
Yeah, well, by then, not many people wanted to join, like invest in lending market. For example, Iceland was struggling, before it became Aave, like it was struggling. No one actually had the appetite for this. Uh, AMM, exchange of assets, you could go to centralized exchange, but people didn't really understand. There was huge delta. The market was very small. Of course, today it's obvious, but back then no one actually thought it was possible. And yeah, I know many different projects that were struggling to raise capital, but today they are some of the big unicorns. You can name them like Solana, all different projects.
What made you go into the node hosting?
Well, because of my experience with Bitcoin, I was back then in 2010, 2011. I had like there's a picture I sent on Twitter, but I had something like 40 different computers, really bad, Pentium, Celeron, different things, and I was running some analytics, not analytics, but like the SETI for Space Agency, that you could actually provide your computational power in order to search for stars. And they had this program, and this type of technology, distributed system, distributed computing, exists like for decades. So I was participating in this, and then I had to run the Bitcoin by luck in 2011. So I had pretty strong experience. Also, my background in electrical engineering, we had to build a DevOps staff in London when we were doing auditing. When we were through the auditing firm, we ran bootcamp, and those bootcamp, one of the first exercise is to run the Ethereum network, local network of Ethereum. So then I got involved, and it was very nice because you had to connect with all the different projects. So like Polkadot, Cosmos, Solana, Polygon, all different. Actually, one of my first play was with a project that completely died. I don't know what happened, but I think it got crazy. But it was Loom.
Mm.
Remember Loom, the gaming, where people were the crypto kitties and all different things, and then there was Loom the teaching, and there's a class you could run it. And one of the CTO, actually the CTO of Loom, is the guy that joined Paradigm as one of the main developer advisor and one of the most prominent smart contract developer in the space. I mean, security researcher. He was the CTO of Loom back then, and I met him in London.
Okay, okay, amazing. Is that the node hosting? Is that a business that's still around? Is that
Yeah,
something?
yeah, still around. We have more than, I don't know, like something like more than 200 million. So it's pretty large. We're doing across multiple, I mean, all the L1 pretty much. And we're doing, I think how we see that is more like we help early stage projects rather than continuing in maintaining existing prominent product, because this give us an alpha, or give us the a step through an early stage project. So we provide those services. The reason why it's extremely difficult is because it's quite costly. Usually running, for example, in Cosmos or Solana, people don't understand, but we had to run them for a year and a half, 2 years without receiving any compensations. And we had to spend 5, 10K per month, 7 days a week, and almost like 18, 19 hours a day
What,
trying to maintain those networks because back then there was no token concept and I mean distribution of tokens, and we were doing those game of stake, Tour de Sol in Solana, and it was in the early days, and you have to spend a lot of money running those DevOps like on AWS or bare metal, and then back then we also had bare metal. I mean, we want to securization, pretty hard time of securization. There was like AHM directly in the bare metal, plugging your ledgers. So you had to travel to somewhere in Europe, for example, Paris, in Ubisoft, those bare metal location where you had military grade access, and then plug your ledger. It was in the early days, and now today everything has changed. But yeah, the business of node validation is still running. Now we have expanded to Vault, curators, and all different things. Yeah.
what made you go with that? So if you're in a situation where you're running something and not getting paid for a year, now it's obvious, right? Solana, even for a few years, Solana's obviously been huge, but then it wasn't, right? Nobody had
No,
really.
no, yeah, for sure. We were, I think,
What
I,
makes you go all in on something that's got this operational cost month by month and all this work and all this
it's all
headache?
this. Yeah, exactly. It's every time like this. Like for example, like in Tezos, I made the first acquisition of a Tezos baker. It actually was the first. I think I don't know anyone back then that had acquired a Tezos baker. But yeah, Solana, Cosmos. The thing is like we are all passionate. Like there was a small group. I think Cosmos was like 30 people. Solana was like 15 people, and we all knew each other, and we were convinced that what we were trying to do was actually going to change the space. But yeah, there's always a big risk. Even today, we are doing, or I'm doing things that people are criticizing on a daily basis, and they say, "Oh, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen." But guess what? Like those things, at some point, if you really spend the energy, the resources, and the knowledge into it, trying to understand that actually is going to make a huge impact in society, it will happen at some point. Is it 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? I think now the cycles are going faster because of open source, because of everyone that capable of having access to knowledge, and now with AI, you can actually have to an expert level. So, but yeah, we had I know and some of the people that stick there around back then in the validations, because validations, not services, was the first business before DeFi. There was no other thing. There was no much of smart contract whatsoever. It was the first kind of thing that you could then be involved in blockchain. But all the people I know that were stick there, for example, Kin, the big service provider staking billions, he was also in Cosmos. Then we have, I know some people from Polygon, I know some people, all of them now are running some big companies or big projects. But back then they were receiving no money. We had to finance everything, like trips, like running the DevOps. We had to inject money. I inject my salaries that was running the money I made in London by running my own company as a consultant. Then I inject everything in doing this. I inject 2 years, 3 years of salary without getting anything in return.
And then, so take me through what happened following. So you had a node hosting, you had things like Curve that you were involved in, and then what? You start getting involved in more and more protocols. What do you do with your
Yeah, well,
experience?
crazy. Then by running all those different nodes, I had to meet and become friends, for example, with Anatoly from Solana, for example, Polygon guys, Cosmos, Parkala. I had to know all the different, the inner circle, the small group of people, the community back then. You remember, like in London, Blockchain Week, there was like 150 people, not even. And prior to this, there was like 50 people, like in Ethereum and Bitcoin. Prior to Ethereum, when I was going to meetups or even Bright for Bitcoin, were like a 10, 12 people, and I had to know pretty much everyone. By running and walking and building, this is how you end up making connections and then having the ability to either help someone financially or by resource, like for example, providing DevOps. Then there was a lot of different FUD going on in the space and people getting wrecked and different things. So I said, okay, I want to create Rekt news. So I created Rekt News, and then I start covering all the different things that were happening in DeFi, and people reach out to me and say, "Oh, look, you should look into that. What about you get involved with this?" So then I start building. Then I saw how Curve would change the space. So we had a long discussion with Michael about like trying to find a governance model. Like for example, then that's how got the VA tokenomics, so the VA tokens, where you lock them and etc. Like for 4 years and get maximum governance powers. And then I realized that the one that will actually be able to acquire a significant amount of governing power will be able to decide the inflations, the incentives, the boost, and the rewards. So that's how I got to work on StakeDAO. StakeDAO was actually an evolution of Stake Capital. I mean, evolution of the nodes, an evolution of the asset management, but for the governance power. So then I started working alone, like actually with someone back then. I was also a Leopold, but it was like a year and a half, 2 years of building. And yeah, so I finance the things. We work hard on the project, and then StakeDAO is one of the biggest governance player in the EVM. I mean, in Ethereum at least, and more particularly in Curve. We have, I think, 140 or 150 million Curve. veCRV locked for 4 years, so maximum governance power, and then we can actually decide how we can vote. We have a vote market as well.
Yeah. Julien, what was special about Curve?
Well, I think Curve, what's special first is Michael, the founder, but also the technicity, the technical level of Curve. The ability, first Curve started on a niche, which were stable coins. But if you look at Uniswap and Banco, the previous AMM, or actually at the same time, and Banco was first. But if you look, they were doing everything. Long tail asset like the crypto tokens. So the algorithm was not actually specialized in a niche, so you were not actually providing the best value for the users, for the LP providers. Where in Curve, it started from the stablecoin. It was only maximizing return and for stablecoin. So as an LP, and you could actually receive, and also the mechanism of the tokenomics, you will actually receive rewards and the inflation of the token, where in Uniswap you will not. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the ability, yeah, I think the governance power really created this concept of moat, where every project will need, have the obligations to accumulate Curve in order to play in Curve in terms of debt liquidity. The important aspect of finance are a couple of different things. Big liquidity, so you have and a small slippage and small cost. And if you have this, and that's the reason, for example, the options market in DeFi is not yet being used because you have a lack of liquidity. That's the reason why people then go to derivatives and hedge themselves there, like market makers and big things, because the liquidity in crypto is not there. And then if you have this, for example, if you solve this matter in the spot market, you actually unlock tremendous amount of value. And that's how then we start making partnership with all the big players. For example, Aave, we have a pool. You could deposit into Aave, take the layer P tokens, and then deposit inside Curve, and then you could actually loop and leverage those things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. I want to go back to what you said about the news, because that's quite a tangential thing, right? So you mentioned that there was a lot of projects maybe where things were getting out of control in terms of, I guess, information and understanding about the project and the quality of the project as well, right? Is that where you were coming from?
Well, there were like a lot of different projects. I mean, okay, what happened is like I was in London and I saw this ICO, crazy boom, remember? And I start looking at those many different landing page, and they were making no sense, right? So I start criticizing some of them project and call them like scam or something.
Yeah.
And then I got well, definitely something like this. It was they were like trying to steal money from retail. So then I got sued by one of these big projects, like big
Really?
time. Yeah, like because I use terms like it's a scam, it's whatever, and this is defamatory. So I got sued.
It was a scam, right? You were looking
Yeah,
at
of course. The guy got to jail. So yeah. So the point is like I start actually looking at a different way to talk about project, about things that will happen in the space or were happening. And this is what the idea of Rekt. Rekt is actually it's a platform for hosting opinions or hosting things that are made out of things that we see on the blockchain, see on chain. So, and then the tone, the sarcasm, it's built because we never actually give conclusions to the user what's happening. We always be extremely agnostic and generic, and then we give, okay, now you have information to everything, make your own conclusions. But Rekt became, and also because a lot of people were trying to attack Curve. So how I start, so I start StakeDAO because of helping Curve, and I start Rekt because of helping Curve. Because back then there were like people, for example, Swerve, that forked the contract of Curve and were trying to attack Curve. So those two projects were started because I was trying to help Curve. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The evolution here is super interesting, actually. Okay, so you've got.
It's always the same. It's like if you really build and get close to people and get close to founders and build in the space. Now, of course, the space is really big, so it's more difficult for people to get very close to founders or very close to projects. But as soon as you start building, you start unlocking different things. And all those projects that I built were to solve problems for myself. For example, Blackpool was an NFT, became one of the biggest asset management in NFT world. The reason is because I had bought some cards on Sorare, the football fantasy game, by doing like involving Curve, involving Rekt and StakeDAO. I had no time to manage my assets. So I said, okay, maybe I should build like in football club, like an asset management that will take care of my cards and play the game. And that's how Blackpool was started. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. What did you do next? What came
Well,
after this? Yeah.
then well, Curve was like for 3-4 years, still now, and now it's there's a couple of different new things that are happening. But StakeDAO is running one of the biggest successful in governance power. I think we have distributed more than 50 million in rewards to the vote market. We have accumulated more than 140 million in Curve. We have biggest position in Spectra. We have one of big position in Pendle. So it's extremely successful. Rekt News is still running. And Stake Capital, I was also involved in quantitative activity. I was one of the biggest market maker on Avalanche, for example. We're running a market making like arbitrage opportunity on Trader Joe. We also did that a couple of different venues. At the early days, I did build the first liquidation bot. I mean, the liquidation in the space, entire space. This was built on top of Aave. So I've been doing a couple of different things, got involved in a couple of different projects, and that's it opened the door to get involved with different team as board members. I'm advisor and also seed early investor in the Morpho, the lending protocol. So that's what we're doing, still doing. We are building projects to the venture studio. We're now trying. I was involved last year in options, on-chain options market, because I believe the options market will be one of the biggest markets. I mean, it was one of the biggest market in TradFi, so it will become the biggest market derivatives in the DeFi. It's just a matter of time because it's complex, liquidity, volume, and all different things. And also retail don't necessarily understand the options. They only understand perps because it's leverage, casino type of things. So what I'm doing now, it's Stake Capital is structuring as a group. We do venture studio, so we build companies. We also ran governance, marketing, lobbying, like voting, for example, one of the biggest voter on Morpho, one of the biggest actually the biggest one on Spectra, etc. Then we have the investment. We have the investment arm where we basically participate in different projects, and we also have the advisory branch where we advise on. We also run like audits. We advise on security. We advise on tokenomics and different things like that.
Okay, amazing. And one of the things you haven't mentioned, but I think you were involved in super early, if not if not the first, was the flash loans.
Yeah, liquidation. I said liquidation bot. I said it was flash loan. Yeah.
Liquidation bot. Okay. Okay.
No, it was So it was not liquidation, but flash loan.
Flash loan. Yeah.
So flash loan was doing like I used them for liquidations, but yeah, I did the first flash loan. Yeah.
So take me through that.
But I was doing the first liquidation bot for Aave and etc. But yeah, did the first flash loan.
So take me through the flash loan. Like, how did you get to that? What did you do?
Well, it's interesting. So I So I knew Island and I knew Aave, I knew Stani and Jordan and all different guys, and I was looking at the smart contract, and then I realized that, and also I think it was in the dark, I don't remember, but I realized that you could actually borrow unlimited amount of, I mean, depending on liquidity of the protocol, but limited amount of assets, and then as long as you will reimburse them in the same block, then you could, if the protocol charge a fee or not, but then it will like atomic transaction. So you do your stuff, you borrow the money, you do your stuff, reimburse the money, and then take profits, and then this happened. So
Because
then I
it's
started investigating.
guaranteed, right? It's all together, like it's all
Yeah,
or nothing.
exactly. Yeah, you cannot do it, of course. Yeah. So then I started investigating. I also was working with a guy that was also pretty good in in on-chain liquidation, etc. So that we start working on that, and then it became the first flash loan ever done in the entire industry.
Yeah, yeah, amazing, amazing. Julian, I feel like we could go on for a while, but I think we've covered a lot of ground already. I guess to close off, you've yourself created a whole load of projects and resources and things. Where do you go for your inspiration?
Oh, inspirations. I think it come from my childhood. Like my parents were entrepreneurs, and I grew up in this house where they were doing their own stuff. So, and also, I think I continue building, for example, right now because I'm passionate. That's what drives me
Hmm.
to get into behind the laptop rather than being on the beach or something. And today I've seen, for example, the evolution of AI, the evolution. I
Yeah.
mean, that's where I got graduated back in the US. But back then it was super nerdy and super boring, and people like, of course, today is super sexy and exciting. But back then, working in AI and machine learning was very boring. It was only maths and
What do you see now? Because really, you were kind of at the bleeding edge of crypto trading in many ways, right? Certainly on-chain activity and being close
oh
to,
yeah.
let's say, the bare metal of the chains themselves, right? And DeFi itself. And you've got a background in AI. What do you see when you put all this together?
Well, that's how I got involved in, for example, Zama, FHE, fully remote encryption, zero knowledge proof. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to mix all those different things that I was trained on and the different experience that I have in this space for the past 10, 15 years. So I'm trying to understand because it's very noisy. You know, there's a lot of it's a bubble. So
Yeah.
in any bubble, you need to be extremely careful, and you need also to understand where the where it's going. Decentralized computing, decentralized inference, decentralized whatever.
Yeah.
Things will happen and things will crash. So what I'm trying to understand is this correlation between AI, blockchain, TradFi, and how it will actually impact the world, how it will, and where we are moving. For
Hmm.
example, I believe in order to make society a better place, so we cannot go inside the reef, or for example, what's happening in Asia with China and mass surveillance and everything, credit score. Well, here you can actually build zero knowledge proof KYC. You can build FHE type of for data, for example, healthcare. That's why I joined the project. Now they release they are accepted by Y Combinator in healthcare, zero health. So the idea is like you can actually take all your healthcare data, put
Hmm.
them into a model, but you have the mathematical guarantee that
Yeah.
this model cannot access your data. And then this is extremely powerful. It's not because OpenAI or Sam tell you, oh, don't worry, we don't do anything with the data. You should never trust those type of things, but you should trust the maths. And this is what
Yeah.
we're moving into. And I think this would unlock tremendous amount of value in this world if we manage somehow to move into that direction.
Okay, and then back to the trading. I mean, there's a lot of work in like agentic AI and and kind of how that interacts with trading and so on. Are you close to this, or that's kind of
Yeah,
less?
yeah. For example, Giza, they've made, I think, 5,000 transactions within 24 hours or something. I believe the work of trader, a market maker,
Mhm.
like advanced quantitative trader, which requires a lot of mathematics, surprisingly speaking, they are the ones that will soon disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is exactly what's happening. Like trader were replaced by coders, and now coders are replaced by the machine.
Right.
And now you have, if you look at Y Combinator, 1 year ago, 85% of all the projects were coded by 100% of AI. Can you imagine? Well, now it's almost 100%.
Yeah.
So the point is like it's a complete societal shift where the most expert or tech skilled people are now replaced by the machine. So every work that you see in space that require strong technical expertise, strong knowledge, will be replaced by those AI model or AI agents. This is already happening. They will be able to trade between each other. They will be able to find opportunities, and they will be able to find alpha whatsoever. So I think the market will become way more efficient because they will close those profits because they will all compete between each other. And then at some point, people will need to focus on actually providing real product, providing real solution to existing problem. This is what we are moving into.
Okay. I mean, a lot there, obviously. What do you use for? Have you got like anything to recommend in terms of like books or sources of information? Maybe that
Well,
you.
Rekt News is a good source of information to
Of
actually
course.
understand the space.
Yeah.
I would believe that today now X became not necessarily the right place for learning about some changes. Go and look into, for example, Perplexity, for example, Cloud, and the different things also have news system. The problem is like it's evolving so fast because it's open source, because it's AI. So now you have not only humans working 24 hours, 7 days a week. That was the maximum. Now it's actually a matter of computational power. So everything that you see today, oh, they broke this llama model, whatever. A second later, it's already over because
Yeah.
the news is like a couple of hours old. And now we are moving so fast. Now we need to understand where are we moving into, and can we make it safe, and can we make it actually useful for everyone? Because it's also at the same time like any kind of breakthrough technology. It's exciting, but it's also extremely dangerous and scary.
Okay, Julian. On that note,
Yeah.
thank you very much. It's been really I came to this conversation with expectation, but there's so much to unpack there that you've been involved in and really just close to the metal on so many of these things. It's an amazing journey, and wish you all the
Ali, you've had an amazing journey as well, man. Applied Blockchain was on the first consulting company, and you guys are building this amazing project. So congrats as well, man. And we're
good.
still alive. We're still alive. Many different cycles.
Good. So, Julian, thank you very much again. Maybe we'll catch up in a year or two and see how things have moved and where
That
we've
would be
landed.
great. That'd be amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.